Yes, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Would You Watch It Again? The show review for your movies, anime, and TV shows. At the end, answer the only question that really matters: would you watch this over again? I'm your host D, and today me and the homies are reviewing the HBO adaptation of The Last of Us. Let's talk about it. All right, so Abdul, you are the avid game player of this adaptation. What did you think? Did Pedro Pascal live up to your expectations as Joel?
As Joel, I think this was Pedro Pascal's best performance, no doubt. I think overall as a series, this was probably the quintessential video game adaptation of a show or whatever you want to call it. Like, I think the show can stand off as its own one-off series in a lot of ways. But yeah, if you're just painting at Joel is kind of like this cold-blooded anti-hero that we kind of have to see him care for people in order to get close to him. Like you said, I am the gamer. I'm going to keep it brief, but the only thing I just want to touch on is that as a gamer, as like many of the fans were, you spend hours and hours playing with this person, and this person is pretty much an extension of you and your choices. So like seeing that person come to life on a show and for them to be able to pull that off, the stakes were so high that I'm actually shocked that they did it so well. But that's me as like the fan. What did you think like of him and her actually too? I want to throw her in here.
Of both of them, I definitely see why I don't know the child name's actor. Forgive me, I don't know her name, but I can see why she was picked to play Ellie. What was it? Yeah. Oh yeah, Bella Ramsey. Yeah, I can see why she was picked. As after seeing her in Game of Thrones, she definitely gives off that that Ellie feel. Like I've only ever played maybe like four hours max of the game, so I know how Ellie acts, and then she definitely gives off that exact energy. Pedro Pascal does a good ass job as Joel, just a lot of grunting and just overall just a mad ass person. But yeah, I like him a lot. I think they both embody their characters very, very, very well from the games. Again, I only ever played 4 hours of the game, but what I played and what I saw it definitely looks like they definitely killed it, or they smoked that shit.
Were you like me? Were you worried at first, like when the casting came out? Because I didn't picture Pedro Pascal or Bella Ramsey as the two characters, as you mentioned.
You didn't picture a Mexican as a white man? Yeah, me.
No, I didn't.
No, I mean, I didn't have any worries. Again, like I'm not the biggest fan of the games. I know of them and I played of them, but like I didn't have no fear because I know Pedro Pascal smokes his fucking roles, and I see this kid in Game of Thrones, one of the biggest shows ever to grace HBO. So like I didn't have no fear. Like I knew like it was in good hands after seeing those two people cast it. Did I have a fan cast people? Yeah, but
who was it? Who did you have a fan cast though?
For Joel, I really wanted the dude who played Sir Jamie. I can't think of his name. Pedro.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a perfect choice actually. Yeah,
so I don't know any white kid actors, so it could have been anyone for Ellie. Honestly,
I said it before, but it's probably inappropriate. But I did think the Juno actor or actress at the time was.
Oh yeah, that's actually a big concerning thing because like she like sued the company for like making the character based off her, which was crazy.
Just like her. Yeah, and they definitely both surprised me. I think I've seen Pedro Pascal we've seen him as Mandalorian, we've seen him as Prince Oberyn. I've seen him in that other movie what's that spy movie or something that came out?
Spy Kids?
No, the
he was in
Kingsman.
Spy Kids. Kingsman, yeah. But he wasn't Spy Kids though.
He was. Now he smoked it. Him playing this role, him like you said, carrying the grunting, kind of you just kind of feel the pain on his face so much. You see how much he's aged. Like when the show starts in Austin, Texas, and then it moves on later, and you see him with his gray hairs and everything. Everything he talks about, like he really carried the darkness of this character really well. Again, this is a really high bar to meet for him to do. So like as you're kind of going through the show, you see how he interacts, and then if you're like me, I think there's a couple people out there where you're happy that the game was able to take certain things from, or the show was able to take certain things from the game, like spot on, shot for shot. But then the things that they chose to veer off on, you're also appreciative. There's the other fans of the game that are kind of like, why did they change this? Why did they add this in the show? It wasn't in the game. And I can't understand that. I definitely did see that a lot. I don't know if you saw that whatsoever or anything.
I mean, one part that I did get to through the game was like the I'm forgetting everybody's name. The dude who was ready to like go to war, who was like
Bill.
yeah. So I played Bill, and I love him and Ellie's like interaction.
Yeah.
So I was like looking forward to that. As unfortunately I didn't get it, but we still got a pretty powerful episode, so you know it's forgiven. But yeah. Oh, one thing I did like that they did better. I thought they did better in the show was the whole clicker scene. I played that clicker scene, and it's cool, and it's like scary at times. But, like I thought this captured it way better than the game.
Well, yeah, it definitely felt realer because the stakes don't feel as high when you're watching it. Like when you're playing a game, you know you can die and respawn, but it's only one life in the show technically. But yeah, you are right in a sense. I think like with the clickers, you know, you die in one hit. So them being around the corner, The Last of Us really isn't like a guns blazing game, nor is it really that's why I don't like when people call it a zombie game, because I'm like, zombie games usually incentivize you to like have all this ammo and just go machine gun blazing, whereas like The Last of Us is kind of, you have like maybe 4 to 5 bullets in your chamber. You need to be really resourceful, you need to be kind of strategic, and also it's not really like, I replayed the game and I noticed that there's honestly wasn't really a big focus on the infected, not a giant one. I'd say about 70% of the encounters are with humans.
Does that hold true to like the game as well? Like I know in the show, like we the last infected we saw was literally like the Boomer episode. Does that hold true? Or like is a game just like that? There's no more infected scenes, just that those two.
So yeah, there's a lot of subtleties that I do wish, like I did want to get on that too. Like I guess that's my one complaint of the show. I will say that like that they didn't do a good job, I guess. Like I don't want to say they didn't do a good job. I just wish they had more of the infected. I think they didn't want to lean on that crutch more. The Last of Us is pretty much a story about like the compulsion to dominate. They want to focus more on like the world building and the relationship building within the show, showing you like, yeah, dead people can't be infected. It kind of just drives this narrative of all these horrific events and how people kind of lost their humanity, right? So you're seeing that happen to Joel. The infected is kind of just a backdrop of the story, that this happened, and then now this is kind of the outcome of the world. Now we're not really worried about like who has the cure. The cure was just kind of a thing. Even in the game, it was just kind of like, we're not even worried about the backstory of what the cure is. But yeah, like as you play the game now, you see that, okay, you maybe fight infected, but this infected like scene is super small. Most of the narrative of this game is kind of like how most of the narrative of the show, I think that they did better than the game, is they actually personified these enemies that you come across. So you might kill someone because they're in your way, but you don't really know what they have going on or what kind of family they have or anything like that. So that's why I really like how this was structured. I did see that was a complaint that they wanted to see more of. Me personally, I actually really wanted the bloater. Like I wanted a full-on showdown with the bloater, because I think there's about 2 or 3 of them in the game, in the first one at least. And the fact that you kind of got 0 or just like a 1 hint at one, it's kind of like, dang it, like you teased us. I would have really liked that. That would definitely been nice to see. And it also was like a real pivotal moment of the game a few times too.
I definitely wanted some more action scenes. Like they built a pretty like the world looks good. Like it doesn't look like a fake set or anything. It looks like these fucking cities are like fucking destroyed, but they're very empty. It's like an open world game with just like nothing in it. Like there's literally no one else in it. Like you have these somewhat encounters sometimes, but I know these places are full with people, or at least full with infected. So I would love to see some battles like here and there. Like even my biggest rep is the last episode, because like I know the hospital scene, like you have to like go up floors and shit battling motherfuckers, and I know it's like such an intense battle. I feel like that shit was just sped through. Like I really felt like it was just like, yo, just fast forward, he kills people, boom, and then of course he gets to like Ellie in the operating room, and you know he kills the surgeon, who we find out later someone else's.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
But I feel like this episode was very rushed. Like I looked at my watch, and I was like, I started this episode exactly at like 8. It's like 8:48 now, and I was like, we had so much more time. I feel like you guys could have dropped some more money on this action scene.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you. Like, I don't fully agree, but I understand where you're coming from. Like, I really enjoyed the finale. I thought it was beautiful. Like, even the giraffe scene is directly in the game. Like, that shot for shot was in the game. And then the scene where he's holding her, he shoots Marlene and all that, and then even the way when she tells him it's not too late, and it cuts to him driving, and then it cuts to her back, like, and he shoots her. It's like this is shot for shot in the game. They included all of that. But what you're saying with that hospital scene, I think, is kind of a lot of people's complaint. They know that there's a lot of people that played the game and were able to do these speed runs, these no damage takes, and everything like that. So then when they see it and they're kind of like, hey man, like oh, I heard this hospital scene was super hyped up, which you probably have seen by now. The game is old, so you've probably seen how like he's bashing skulls in. There's like you can get a flamethrower in this last scene, throwing grenades and all that. You didn't really see that, but what you did see was kind of like him shifting and kind of accepting what his choices were. And he hinted at it by even saying that, like, you know, it's not too late to turn back. It's not too late. We can go back to see Tommy right now. It's not too late. We don't have to do this at the end of the day. And even if you think about it, like, if you were the person that has this cure, yo, go send somebody over there in this hospital. Like, I'm too valuable. Like, you want to go on a hunch that I might have the vaccine or something like that, and it's crazy to put my life out there. And he acknowledges that. Like, I think the most like saddest thing, they never explored it in the game, was even him saying that to her at the end, like that time heals all wounds, because he's still trying to overcome his loss of his daughter. But then he tells her, like, no, like, this time it wasn't time. So it just showing that he confirms his love for him. That scene is just him just like accepting that fate, that like, look, I know what I'm about to do is gonna have a whole like chamber of events right now. Like, yeah,
I don't take away the powerfulness of the scene. Like, I think it was like his acting was on par. It was good, but it's just like, damn, bro, like,
you just wanted more fighting.
Yeah, it's like, what if I just showed you the clash and Battle of the Bastards and not the actual war, you know?
Yeah, like the first initial clash or something like that. Like when
and just speeding through, you just see bodies on the floor. I know it's like it's the final boss in the game, kind of, right? Whatever. So I expect a lot. I think it's just very anticlimactic to me. Like, I was really hyped up to see like some, like, I've seen gameplay of shit like the gunfights. I'm like, damn, this is a lot of talking, which is interesting. Like, the acting is good, but still, I'm like, damn, was this based off a video game? You know?
yeah, it's epic. I mean, when you think about it, I kind of agree with what you're saying, but not for this episode. I think I agree with what you're saying for the previous episode, if that makes sense. Like, the final boss, for me at least, when I played it, is David. And David is kind of like this darker version of Joel. And as you go through the game, you kind of see all these different characters. Like, that's the embodiment of the game. You're personifying all the characters, and the show is able to give backstory to these people. Some are good, some are bad, whatever. But when you get to David was the one I was hyping up. I remember kept saying that. I'm like, man, you know, I hope this episode is long, because there's so much that happens. You know, Ellie has to take care of Joel and has to go, she's fighting people. Like, she's first now, like, you finally get to play with Ellie, and she hunts the deer, and then you stab a couple people. Like, you are really fending off people from David until he captures you. And then even when he captures you, you're playing with Joel, and it just creates this tension so well in the game that it was going to be really hard to replicate. And then two, you also, I guess the whole betrayal with David, Ellie and him team up and fight a bloater together. And then after they survive, like, you know, they're over the fire, and then he's like, you know, I don't believe in coincidences. You know, get this, like, I sent a few of my men over here out of town, and they were with a little girl, this crazy man who killed a few of my people. And then it's revealed that he's hunting her. So it's like the surprise of the events was so much grander in the game than it was in the show. That was my one time where I'm like, damn it, I wish this could have been longer. But everything after that, every single thing after that, I think the actor that played David, he wasn't as dark as the David in the game, but he still did really good. He was really
a voice
creepy.
Actor in one of the game, right?
The other guy was, so the guy with the beard that was like his henchman or something, that's Troy Baker, who voices Joel. Okay. Yeah, and then like you have those subtleties. I can't remember her other name. There was a, like, when you're in this Sam and Henry chapter, which I think is one of the best chapters in the game. But when you're in that chapter, you're trying to survive against Fedra and everything like that. You're trying to walk through, but all these people you're killing, you don't really know who these people are that kind of have the city closed off. They did a good job giving that, like, personifying who those people are that are running this town. And her, like, lieutenant in command, that was the voice of Tommy. And then, like, that. Yeah, like,
all right. So I have a question for you. This. All right. So you know what have you seen The Walking Dead? Do you know what that?
Some of it, I didn't really like it.
Okay. So I want to know, how does this differ from The Walking Dead? Like, before you say like, yo, The Walking Dead is about zombies, like, it's, the comic is different, where it deals more about like the transition of people from like I was such a good person, and now I'm a fucking deadbeat, or like I'm a murderer or whatever. Like, how do you think The Walking Dead differs from this?
I think it focuses way more on the relationship between two characters, and it's also highlighting the fact that there's no one that's good or bad. I think, like I said, but not only does it personify the people you're around, but it tells you the story of the compulsion to dominate, the robbing of humanity, and it also paints a way more like sinister trail of events of like what it takes to be who you are. Joel admits that, yo, I used to be a looter. I used to be this person that would break your car down and try to kill you just because you were someone else with resources. I think the show Last of Us highlights that so much well. It does a much better balance. I know you, when the show started, you were talking about how it balances both like the infected and humans as an enemy, but in this, I think this show, what it does the best is like creating tension and not really knowing if this next character is an ally or not. So when you come across like a Bill, or you come across a Sam and Henry is fighting you, and then you don't know if David is your ally or not. It's those little subtleties that the game creates, and I don't know. I think it kills that. I don't know if any show, let alone The Walking Dead, can do that well.
Yeah.
So
I think the difference for me is like, of course, you're focusing on just two people, not a whole group of people. But this one, like The Walking Dead, feels like, yo, these are our heroes. Like they're doing the right thing against everybody who's bad. And then this one is like, Joel is still not a good person, bro. Like, he's still like, he's the protagonist in the story, but he's still not a good person. No one is. Like in The Walking Dead, you have these people who are good. Like no one is good in this world. That's what it looks like in this one.
Yeah, and you have, and when you have so much focus on these characters, like Ellie's a super hopeful person in the show. Like she's still a kid. Literally, she's never been on an airplane. Like she has this view of the world that like you don't even understand yet, and it's like you feel for her because she's really that innocent. Whereas like Joel has had everything taken away from him already, so they kind of counteract one another, and like this little symbiotic like push and pull relationship they have throughout the series, it was done well in the game, and you kind of see him cracking a smile through like the puns. Like that was a thing in the game where she's reading a joke book and he's like, shut up, and it's like they did that well too. Like
their relationship kind of grew kind of fast for you, like not in the game but in the show? You don't think it just like a 180 happened kind of fast?
No, I think the point of it was to show that she was cargo. Remember, she was cargo for him to transport.
But one episode she was cargo, next episode you're like, that's okay, baby girl.
No, like, the episode where it changed it was when he felt bad when he first saw her kill a person. So like when he's it's like before that Sam and Henry episode where he's getting choked out and then she pulls a gun and shoots him, and he's like, you're just a kid, you shouldn't have to kill anybody, and then he teaches her how to shoot a gun, and then that's when it was like, even in the game when you meet Sam and Henry, he says, I know you're a good person because you have someone you care for, and he's like, well, it's cargo, whatever. But that was actually the changing of events where he's like, I feel bad for her, this girl is kind of getting robbed of her innocence too early, but then she admits too, like, hey, this isn't the first person I've killed. So I didn't think it was rushed personally. I think they actually did a great job building that relationship really, really well. And even as it accentuates and goes further and further, like when he finally does embrace her and say like, it's okay, baby girl, and everything like that. And prior to that, I always used to say like my favorite scene was him telling her that you're not my effing daughter. Oh, yeah. Like, and I'm sure that was like one of the most emotional scenes to me in the game, and I think in the show it turned out to be also my favorite episode. And funny enough, it had no action in it, so you probably weren't a fan. But I don't know what you thought of that episode when they meet Tommy.
I liked that episode. I wanted more backstory on that character, so I thought it was a good episode. I definitely felt like I liked Ellie more after that episode. Like before, I'm like, yo, she's such a fucking brat, Jesus. But now, after that episode, I think I like felt for her more. Yeah. She was just looking for a father figure. She was saying like, yo, everyone in my life that I've cared for has died except for you. Like, I hate that I'm stuck with you, but I hate that I'm actually getting attached to you. And it's just like, that shit breaks your heart because he rejects her, and it's because you also see him like having these panic attacks, and you don't see that in the game. Like these are those little subtleties where I'm like picking up as the show goes on, and I'm like, okay, like you didn't see this in the game, and the fact that you can just feel his pain, you can read the tension off his face. He knows, like he's terrified, like he's terrified of failing. Like
anyone else. He already failed Tess, he failed his daughter, and now he might fail Ellie. So he's literally kind of facing these kind of things where I'm like, all right, how can I live with myself? I think like the scene that really got me where I was like, give Pedro his Emmy was him breaking down when he talked to Tommy, and he kind of tells Tommy like, look, like I can't do this, like you're a better shot than I am, you're essentially a better version of me, like you're younger than me and all that, you're married, like look at their faces compared to one another. He's all healthy and rejuvenated.
Dirt. It's covered in filthies.
He got a baddie too with him. Like he's like, it's just kind of insane that he felt so guilty about it. And at first, even in the game, like his wife isn't happy about it, about him taking it on. But after, I guess that turn of events there was also something that could have happened, because once Joel tells her off, they fight off a few people. Whereas in this, it's kind of like, we don't want to do a shot by shot everything from the game. Let's still keep it an adaptation.
So. Like I know one thing they changed was like the spores, and I see like definitely the reason for that, because that shit would not make sense in a TV show.
Just one last thing. So the way this show and the series essentially ends for season 1 and game 1 is by Joel going into the operating room and stabbing up, shooting all the surgeons that are working on Ellie. And he does this because the cordyceps fungus grows on their brains, and in order to operate, they would essentially have to kill Ellie. So the reason I bring this up is because I wanted to ask you where you stand on that. Like, was he in the right for saving Ellie, or do you think, he should have just let them operate and go ahead and save humanity for all we know? Like, what do you think?
It's a lot of variables, right? Because on one hand, Ellie wanted to like save people. She wanted to like do whatever. On the other hand, you don't know if it's gonna work. Like she even rubbed her blood on the kid and it didn't work. She was like, who's to say that the operation worked? Like it would have worked in the first place. I'm completely on Joel's side, bro. Like we said it before, he's not a good person. So he's being very selfish. Well, like this is a very selfish ass world now, though. Like it's all gimme. Like you rarely run into that people that are like, I'll give also, what you can take from me, but whatever. Like I'm with him. I would have saved her. Like I lost my daughter. I lost my daughter. I had another wife in this apocalypse, potentially. I lost her too. I'm gonna go back and just have nothing. I finally found like another daughter or someone I'm willing to take care of, and you're gonna take her away from me? Absolutely not. I'm murdering the whole hospital as well.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting. I think the show balanced it by not letting us know who was really right, because Marlene is the one that's going to be her caretaker. Marlene is the one that probably has like kind of the best intention in a way for her, but she realizes, hey, like this girl is potentially the possible only glimmer of hope in what is one life really to the future of humanity. If we go ahead and try to like remove her, extract this from her brain, even at the cost of her life, think about the millions we could save at this point. And they try to exemplify that at the start of this episode, like when you see her getting born, when you see her like at her birth and everything. But I agree with you too. I think that's what the game made you do. Like, and the show also teased that like he's tired of failing. He failed at saving Sarah, as I mentioned, and failed at saving Tess, and now this is kind of his last thing. So it kind of proves how selfish I guess we are, as like what else would we do in that position? Like she cures him of his humanity, but Joel finds out that like if this vaccine does go through, then he's kind of sacrificing the future of humanity, which he does for his own selfishness. And the only reason I bring this up is because it's a theme that gets touched on in the beginning of the second game. Not spoiling anything, but Ellie finds out and tells him like, hey, like why did you rob me of my purpose? And he states if he could, he would do it all over again. So
protecting your child, bro. That's essentially what he did. I'm protecting my child. Like you may want to go out in a blaze of glory. I don't want that for you. Like that's selfish as me. Like but like no, I went through hell and back to like save you. You're telling me like I did all that saving just for you to end up dying anyway? Absolutely not. If I can prevent it, I'm going to do it. I'm with Joel.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think we just feel more connected to people whenever we see them care about somebody. So then that's when we're kind of like, okay, like of course he's a protector now, like he's her father figure, that's her daughter. And we remember the episode before, like she almost gets assaulted literally, and it's kind of like, okay, you just want the best for her, so for her to kind of potentially be killed without her even knowing, like who's to know if she would have consented. And I wonder that, because I don't know either, like, you know, it sounds really noble, but in reality, would you die? Like, would you die for the sake of humanity?
Oh, would
No.
I die? No.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, you're like, damn, bro, like I live in a shitty ass environment, you know. I could potentially cure people, and like, I don't know. I don't want to die. Like, even if it's a shitty environment, like I said, I don't want to die still.
Yeah, you don't want to die, but like, and then there is the people that do though, like, you know, and I don't want to go too far back, but like even in the previous episodes, you'll see how like some people almost made it seem more beneficial to just be an infected person. Like, at one point, do you just feel like giving up? It's like, is it worth struggling to try to stay alive and having to fight cannibals and humans looting me? I don't have a real quality of life. Like, why don't I just let Mother Nature, how Mother Nature's kind of taken the earth back, like, let me just accept my fate or something? So I do wonder that with Ellie. Like, she is a kid too. Like, would she be so like, yeah, this is the right thing? Like, how many kids do you know that's gonna be that forward thinking? I'm sure if it was Joel, he'd be like, I don't give a fuck. But
also, like, yeah, I can save you now, and if you choose to make this choice at like an older age, that's completely up to you. But I saved you. Like, you're still a child. Like, you don't have rights still. Fuck that.
All of that on a maybe is crazy too. All of that on a maybe, like, maybe we'll get a vaccine out of this is like, okay, well, you just killed my daughter, third person I fail. And but yeah, that was the main thing I just wanted to get at you. Like, the ending has been a topic for a long time, where it's kind of like some people are leaning either way. Like, a lot of people call Joel selfish, you know, that was wrong of him to do, but other people are kind of like, yo, is he really wrong? Like, did you know the vaccine's gonna work, or did you know this like her immunity was really natural? Like, we don't really know. None of us do. So, but yeah, that was.
You're just like Marlene came out. She's like, yeah, she was infected. Blah blah blah. I was like, yours is all speculation, bro. You don't know this. This may work, it may not. And I was like, I don't want to be the latter, you know. So.
The distrust of the government, but
right.
I guess I just wanted to touch on like one last thing with the Sam and Henry thing. Like, I've seen a couple people say that was their favorite episode. I think people's definition of favorite in this show was how sad it could make you feel, and I think like that's why episode 3 resonated with so many people, even though it was a big backstory. It was kind of like seeing the end of time, like, let's see this fully happen with Bill and Frank, but then you see Sam and Henry, and it's kind of like, wow, let's make this kid that gets infected, let's also make him deaf. Let's see this like reflection of Joel and Ellie right now, and now let's look at him kind of kill himself right now after he sees Sam get infected as well. Again, shot for shot in the game. It's crazy that he does that, because then in this finale, you know, Joel also admits, hey, when my daughter died, I try to elf myself too. These are all those things where it's kind of like, how much did it make you feel? I think towards the end of the show, people were kind of like, maybe they just ran out of emotions. It was like by episode 7, they were like, okay, you know, it's crazy because that episode 7 was Ellie's backstory. That probably had the most backlash, but that was, again,
backlash for what?
So I don't know. I guess they just weren't ready to see like a, you know, that type of love in a show, and also lesbian? Because it's like, but it's also kids. Like, it's also kids seeing that. They were like, why did we need to see them as this? It almost feels like an agenda type of thing, whatever. But that being superseded by like episode 3, where you kind of already had this relationship. But what's weird is that this was actually like true to the game, so I got thrown off by it. But yeah, I guess I was also saying that when it started, like, I hope the length of the earlier episodes doesn't take away from the episode 8 and episode 9, and you know, we didn't get a big a big thing like that, like a big finale for the hospital. So yeah, it just sorry, man. It just captured suffering really well. I'm gonna shut up, man. I know I've been rambling, but
no, you're good. So would you watch season 1 over again?
I think this is the best embodiment of any TV show adaptation ever. I think you need to give Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey all the awards in the world. I absolutely will be watching it again, and I think you should play the game now. So
yeah. So my thing is, I like the show. I really do. I like Pedro Pascal. I like what's her name again? What's her name?
Bella Ramsey.
Bella Ramsey. I like both of them. I feel like I can get more from the game. I think I can get more like everything from the game, just from playing it. It's because the game was what 16 hours maybe,
Roughly
20.
14, 15. Not
Yeah,
long, but yeah.
I feel like just playing as those characters and not like and you're with like the I forget the black kid's name. What are they? I forget everybody's name. Sam, you're with them for like a good portion of the game, right? And we were
Yeah,
with them for
yeah,
one episode, and I was like, I
yeah.
feel for you, but I think I would have got more feelings for you if I would have played the game.
Yeah, that was definitely one of my like things too, because Sam or Henry tries to fight Joel, and then they have like a scene where they run away, and it's like I'm not gonna spoil it now, but you've watched the whole show. But essentially, yeah, you had a lot more. You had relationship building between Ellie and Sam, and it was like okay, like yeah, you had to squeeze all of that out. But me personally, like I talked to a friend that's playing the game as well, and they were like, I low key liked it better in the show just because it was done so well. Like, even though it's different, more isn't always better. So
Sure.
that's why I had to look at it like that too. I don't know. I just didn't. My one complaint was, as I mentioned, but I think overall, like on a macro level, it captured how much suffering there is in the world, and it's really sad to see. If Last of Us One is all about like love and protection and purpose, like the next one is kind of about consequence and revenge. So yeah, look forward to Last of Us 2.
True. So those are our thoughts on it, and let's hear some of yours now in the comments. Would you watch season 1 over again? Did you like Ellie? Are you uncomfortable with lesbian scenes for some reason? How do you feel about episode 3? Did you want more zombies? Let us know down in the comments below, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.